Yeah, this is going to be a real quick YouTube video. Um, in Genesis 3, 1 through 5, Genesis 3, 1 through 5, it talks about in the garden where the serpent came and said you can't eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Okay, but you'll find the tree of the knowledge of the knowledge of good and evil in Genesis chapter 3, verse 1 through 5. It talks about the tree of good and evil. Okay, but what I wanted to point out is if you read Genesis, okay, it says in Genesis 3, 1 through 5, it'll say it shows you the discussion between the serpent and Eve, okay? And what it does is it talks about how the serpent says, you can eat of all the trees of the garden. And she said, yeah, but we can't eat of the tree of good and evil, pretty much, okay? Well, according to the Bible, they could eat of every tree in the Garden of Eden except good and evil, right? Okay, well here's something to think about. In Revelation 3:22, look at Revelation 3:22. Not in Revelation, I'm sorry. Genesis 3:22. Look in Genesis chapter 3 verse 22. It talks about the tree of life. So at the time Adam and Eve were in the Garden of Eden, they had two trees. One was good and evil, the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and one was the tree of life. Okay? So, based on the scripture from Genesis 3, 1 through 5, theoretically, they could have eaten of the tree of life with no problem. They weren't forbidden to eat the tree of life. They were only forbidden to eat the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Okay? That's the point of the whole video I'm making now. But here's a little question tidbit. I wonder what would have happened if the devil would have had them eat the tree of life first, and then after they ate the tree of life, then they would have ate the tree of good and evil. I wonder what would have happened if it would have been flipped. So that the tree, because after they got banned out of the garden, the Bible talks about they put cherubims and flaming angels with a flaming sword, I believe, to protect the tree of life, so that nobody could eat it. And then I think it was taken out of the garden and probably went to heaven. That's my theory, but I don't know. But I'm just saying that what would have happened if it would have flipped? What would have happened if they would have ate the tree of life first, and then like a couple weeks or months later, then the devil would have came to him and said, now eat the tree of good and evil? I wonder what would have happened. Well, anyway, the point I'm making is that nothing in Genesis chapter 3 says they couldn't eat the tree of life. The only tree they couldn't eat was of good and evil. Okay.